Mom said anniversary trip canceled, budget issues. I believed her, but a week later, I saw Facebook album Paris with whole family, 87 photos. I stayed silent. Then she texted me asking for help. I replied with, "The phone call came on a Tuesday evening while I was grading papers at my kitchen table." My mother's voice sounded apologetic, maybe even a little embarrassed. "Sweetie, I have some disappointing news about the anniversary trip," she began. "Your father and I had to cancel Paris. Budget issues came up, and we just can't swing it right now." I felt genuinely sad for them. 25 years of marriage deserve celebration, and they'd been planning this trip for almost a year. Mom had sent me links to cafes she wanted to visit, museums on her list, even the small hotel in the Marais district they'd chosen. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I know how much you were looking forward to it." "These things happen," she sighed. "Maybe next year. How are things with you?" We talked for another 20 minutes about my job, teaching high school English, about my apartment, about nothing particularly important. She seemed normal, loving like always. I'm 32 years old, and I've always had what I thought was a close relationship with my parents. I'm an only child, or so I believe, for most of my life. My childhood in suburban Connecticut was comfortable, stable, unremarkable in the best possible way. Dad worked in insurance. Mom was a nurse who went part-time when I started school. We had family dinners. They came to my soccer games. Normal stuff. Except there was always something slightly off that I couldn't quite name. Little comments here and there. The way Mom sometimes looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. How certain topics were subtly redirected. A week after that phone call, I was scrolling through Facebook during my lunch break, procrastinating on writing comments for report cards, if I'm being honest. That's when Jennifer Morrison's post appeared in my feed. Jennifer was my neighbor growing up. We'd been friendly, but not close. The kind of people who liked each other's posts but rarely spoke anymore. Her latest update showed her grinning in front of the Eiffel Tower with the caption, "Surprise family reunion in the City of Light, best week ever." My finger froze over the screen. I clicked into the album. 87 photos loaded slowly, each one twisting something deeper in my chest. There was my mother in a striped shirt and sunglasses holding a croissant at a cafe, my father laughing with a wine glass raised. Jennifer's parents, whom I'd known my entire childhood, and 3 other people I'd never seen before in family pictures. A woman in her mid-30s with dark curly hair, a man about the same age with my father's nose and chin. A younger woman, maybe 28, with my mother's eyes and smile. They weren't friends joining the trip. The body language told a different story. The way my mother had her arm around the curly-haired woman. How my father stood between the man and my mom, his hands on both their shoulders. The comfortable intimacy in every shot. Photo 14. All 6 of them at a restaurant, champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "To family, no matter how complicated." Photo 23. My mother and the curly-haired woman, heads together, both laughing at something off camera. Photo 41. My father with his arms around both women, looking happier than I'd seen him in years. Photo 62. All of them in front of Notre Dame, posed like any family tourist photo. Except I wasn't in it. I sat in the teacher's lounge, staring at my phone until the bell rang for 5th period. My hands were shaking. Students filed past me in the hallway, and I barely saw them. Budget issues. She'd said budget issues. They paid for flights to Paris, hotels, meals, wine, museum tickets, everything documented in those 87 photos that Jennifer had so helpfully uploaded and tagged. But there wasn't money to include me. No, there wasn't a desire to include me. I went home that afternoon and opened my laptop, started digging through old family photos, really looking at them for the first time. Birthday parties, where I was the only child, holidays with just the 3 of us. Even at extended family gatherings, I'd never seen these 3 people. The curly-haired woman had my mother's jawline. The man had my father's hands. The younger woman had both their features mixed together. 3 people who looked far more like my parents than I did. I have blonde hair and blue eyes. Both my parents are brunette with brown eyes. They'd always told me I looked like my grandmother, showed me old photos of a woman I vaguely resembled. I'd never questioned it. My fingers moved almost automatically, searching through adoption registries, genealogy sites, anything that might give me answers. But I stopped myself. If I'd been adopted, they would have told me, wouldn't they? Unless they were ashamed. Unless I was a mistake they'd been stuck with. Unless I was something they'd taken on out of obligation, while their real children, their wanted children, had been somewhere else. The thoughts spiraled through my head for hours. I didn't sleep. I kept returning to those photos, studying every smile, every casual touch, every moment of joy I hadn't been invited to share. The next morning, I called in sick, spent the day staring at walls, at my phone, at nothing. Friends texted. I didn't answer. There was a weight pressing down on my chest that made breathing difficult. My mother called that evening. I let it go to voicemail. She left a cheerful message about stopping by this weekend, maybe going to lunch, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just returned from Paris, like those 87 photos didn't exist. I deleted Facebook from my phone, then reinstalled it an hour later and looked at the album again. Jennifer had added more photos. 93 now. One showed my mother and father at the top of the Arc de Triomphe, his arm around her waist, both of them glowing. Another showed all 6 of them at a candlelit dinner, the caption reading, "Finally, everyone together. Worth the wait. Finally, everyone together." The message was clear. I wasn't everyone. I was something separate, something other. Days passed. I functioned on autopilot at work, came home to an empty apartment, avoided all contact with my parents. Mom called twice more, texted, asking if I was okay. I responded with brief messages. "Busy with work. Talk soon." She seemed satisfied with that. 2 weeks after I'd seen the photos, my mother texted again. This time, the tone was different. "Sweetie, I need your help with something important. Can you call me when you have a minute?" I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it entirely. Part of me wanted to call and scream. Instead, I typed back, "What's wrong?" 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing, waiting. Then her response came through. "It's complicated. I really need to explain over the phone. Please call me. It's about your father." About my father playing the concern card. The family emergency card. I could picture her strategy. Get me worried, get me engaged, then ask for whatever she actually wanted. Money probably, or time, or some favor she felt entitled to, because I was supposed to be the dutiful daughter. The daughter who didn't get invited to Paris. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I opened Facebook instead, looked at those photos one more time, let the hurt settle into something colder, harder, more useful. I replied, "The same father who had budget issues with Paris? The one in the 87 Facebook photos Jennifer posted from your family trip? That father?" The 3 dots appeared again. Disappeared, appeared, disappeared. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, "Can we please talk about this in person?" "No, text works fine." Another long pause. I could imagine her panic, trying to figure out how much I knew, how I'd found out, what she could possibly say. "It's not what you think. Please let me explain." Explain what? Explain why you lied about canceling the trip? Explain who those 3 people are? Explain why your budget covered 6 plane tickets but not 7? The response came faster this time. "You don't understand the whole situation." Something snapped. My fingers flew across the keyboard. "You're right. I don't understand why my mother would look me in the eye and lie. I don't understand why you take what looks like your other children on a dream vacation and tell me the money wasn't there. I don't understand why I've spent 32 years thinking I was your daughter when clearly I'm something else entirely. So yes, please explain the situation." The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then my phone actually rang. Mom calling. I declined it. Sent another text. Text only. What came back was long, clearly typed and retyped several times. "Those people are family I haven't seen in years because of complicated circumstances. Your father and I planned this reunion carefully and didn't want to overwhelm you with family drama you've never been part of. We were going to tell you everything when the time was right. This wasn't about excluding you. We love you so much. Please believe that." I read it 3 times, each word carefully chosen, each excuse perfectly crafted. "Who are they?" "Your half-siblings from before your father and I got married. It's complicated." 3 half-siblings. 3 people who looked like both my parents. 3 people who had apparently been kept secret my entire life. How is that even possible? You're both their parents. A longer pause this time. "No, We need to talk in person. This isn't something for text. Make it work for text, or don't bother explaining at all. The response took almost 20 minutes. Your father had 2 children from a previous relationship. I had one. When we got together, their other parents had custody, and it was messy. We were young. We made choices we thought were best. After we had you, we tried to maintain relationships with them, but it was difficult. They were hurt and angry. Eventually, we lost touch. Recently, they reached out, wanting to reconnect. We thought Paris could be a fresh start. I sat with that explanation, trying to make it make sense. 3 half-siblings I'd never known existed. Relationships that fell apart before I was born. A reunion trip I wasn't told about because why exactly? So, you thought the best way to handle a fresh start was to lie to me and exclude me? We didn't want to complicate things. They were already nervous about reconnecting. Adding another person they'd never met felt like too much. Another person. That's what I was. Too much. A complication. I'm your daughter, not another person. Of course you are. You're my baby girl. But they've been hurt for so long, and we wanted to focus on healing those relationships first. We were planning to tell you afterward and, hopefully, arrange for everyone to meet soon. The explanation was almost reasonable, almost made sense, almost justified the lie. Except it didn't. Not even close. You could have told me the truth. You could have said, we are reconnecting with your half-siblings, and we need to do this trip with just them first. I'm 32 years old. I would have understood. Instead, you invented a lie about budget problems. I know you're right. I'm sorry. It was wrong. I panicked and said the first thing that came to mind. When were you planning to tell me? Before or after Jennifer posted 93 photos for the world to see? No response for a while. Then, I didn't know she was posting photos. She wasn't supposed to, but she did. And now I know. So what did you need help with? The change of subject seemed to catch her off guard. The dots appeared and disappeared multiple times before she finally answered. Your father needs a minor surgery next month. Nothing serious, but he'll need someone to drive him home and stay with him for the first day. I have a work conference I can't miss. I read that message 5 times. She wanted me to provide care for my father. The father who'd spent thousands on a Paris reunion that I wasn't worth including in. The father who'd chosen reconnecting with children who'd been out of his life for decades over being honest with the daughter he'd raised. Ask one of your other children. They don't live nearby, and it's just one day, please. I'm busy that week. You don't even know which week it is yet. Doesn't matter. Whatever week it is, I'm busy. Don't be childish about this. Your father needs you. Childish. She called me childish. I looked at those Facebook photos again. My parents laughing in Paris. Their other children looking genuinely happy. A family complete without me. He needed me when he was deciding whether to be honest about his secret family reunion. He needed me when he was choosing between lying and respecting me enough to tell the truth. He didn't seem to need me then. This is different. This is about his health. This is about you wanting free caretaker labor from the daughter you lied to. I apologized. What more do you want? What did I want? An explanation that made sense. A time machine to undo the betrayal. Parents who actually valued me. I want you to understand why this hurts. I want you to imagine how it felt to see those photos, to know you all spent a week together, making memories, being a family, while I believed your lie and felt sorry for you missing your anniversary trip. I do understand, but punishing your father by refusing to help with his surgery isn't the answer. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply unavailable, like you were unavailable to be honest with me, like I was unavailable to be invited to Paris. You're being incredibly selfish. The word hit like a slap. Selfish. I was selfish for not immediately forgiving a lie and volunteering to provide care for someone who had deliberately excluded me from a major family event. You know what's selfish, Mom? Lying to your daughter's face. Spending thousands on a trip you claim you can't afford while excluding her. Having 3 other children you never mentioned. Then calling and expecting favors when you need something. That's selfish. Those relationships are complicated in ways you can't understand. Then help me understand. Tell me the whole truth. Show me you actually respect me enough to be honest. The dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. When can we meet for coffee? We can't. You have to let me explain properly. I don't have to do anything. You're the one who needs something from me, so explain here or don't. Another long pause, then a wall of text. Fine. Your father was married before me. They had twins, Marcus and Diana. When they divorced, his ex-wife moved to California with the kids. He had summer visitation, but it was messy and painful. I had Rachel from a previous relationship. Her father wasn't involved. When your dad and I got together, we tried to blend the family, but the kids were angry and hurt. Marcus and Diana blamed me for their parents' divorce, even though it happened before I met your father. Rachel felt like she was losing me. It was chaos. Eventually, we had you, and we hoped a baby would bring everyone together. Instead, it made things worse. The older kids felt replaced. Rachel was jealous. Their other parents used it all against us. We were young and overwhelmed. We made the painful choice to step back and let the older kids have stable lives with their other parents instead of constant conflict with us. We sent money, cards, gifts, tried to maintain connection. But over time, they stopped responding. We thought we'd lost them forever. Then last year, Marcus reached out. He's married now, has perspective, wanted to heal. Diana and Rachel felt the same. We've been rebuilding slowly. Paris was supposed to be symbolic, a fresh start. We didn't tell you because we didn't want to get your hopes up if it failed, and we didn't want to burden you with decades of family baggage. We wanted to protect you. I read through it twice. It was more information than I'd ever gotten about my parents' past. It explained the logistics, but it didn't explain why they thought lying was better than trusting me with the truth. I'm 32. You didn't need to protect me. You're our baby. We'll always want to protect you. By lying, by excluding me, by making me feel like I don't matter? You matter more than anything, but this was about them, not you. It became about me the second you lied to my face. What do you want me to say? I've apologized. I've explained. I can't change what happened. I want you to understand that this broke something. I want you to see that you chose them over me. I want you to acknowledge that your protection felt like rejection. I never chose them over you. I chose to handle a delicate situation carefully. You chose to lie. Own that. Fine. I chose to lie. I was wrong. Now, will you help your father? The audacity of it almost made me laugh. An admission of wrongdoing immediately followed by the same request she'd started with. No, he's your father. He's also someone who valued a reconciliation with children who haven't been in his life for decades, more than honesty with the daughter he raised. He made his choices. I'm making mine. You'll regret this. Maybe. But right now, the only thing I regret is not seeing this coming. Seeing what coming? That I was never really part of your family. I was the child you kept because you had to. They were the children you wanted. That's not true. Prove it. Show me one shred of evidence that I'm as important to you as they are. No response. The dots appeared and disappeared several times, but no message came through. I waited 20 minutes. Nothing. Then an hour. Finally, my phone rang again. Dad, this time. I declined it. He called back immediately. I declined again. A text from him. Your mother is very upset. Call me. I replied, I'm sure the family you spent a week with in Paris can comfort her. Don't be like this. We love you. You have a funny way of showing it. We made a mistake. Let us make it right. How are you going to uninvent the lie? Uninvite your other children from Paris and take me instead? Travel back in time and tell me the truth from the beginning? Be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You lied. I found out. Now you want a favor. The reasonable response is no. Family helps family. Those words sat on my screen, heavy with irony. Family helps family. The family that left me out. The family that lied to me. The family that expected me to simply forgive and forget because they needed something. Then ask your family. You have 3 other children now. I'm sure one of them can help. You're being petty. I'm being honest, something I learned recently that this family struggles with. My father didn't respond. The silence stretched for hours. Around midnight, my mother texted again. Please think about what you're doing. Your father's surgery is important. My emotional well-being is important too. Apparently less important than your Paris reunion, but important to me. We can work through this. Just help him first. Then we'll sit down and talk everything through. So, help me first. Then maybe you'll respect me enough for a real conversation. That's not how this works. What do you want from us? The question hung there. What did I want? An apology? I'd gotten a half-hearted one. The truth. She'd given me a version of it. Understanding? That seemed impossible. I want you to sit with the consequences of your choices. I want you to understand that trust, once broken, doesn't automatically repair. I want you to feel a fraction of what I felt, seeing those photos. So you want revenge. I want accountability. By refusing to help with a medical procedure? By establishing that I'm not available whenever you need something, regardless of how you treat me. This is cruel. No. Lying to someone's face and then posting vacation photos for the world to see is cruel. Calling your daughter childish and selfish for being hurt is cruel. I'm just unavailable. Another long silence. Then, from my father, I'll ask Jennifer's daughter to help. She's offered before. Jennifer, the neighbor who'd posted all the photos, who'd been in Paris with them, who was apparently more involved in my family than I was. That sounds perfect. Your mother is heartbroken. She'll recover. She has 3 other children to comfort her. Stop throwing that in our faces. Stop pretending you didn't know exactly what you were doing. No more messages came that night. The next morning, I woke up to an email from my mother. Long, detailed, emotional. She explained again about the complicated family dynamics, about wanting to protect me, about loving me more than anything. She promised we'd plan a special trip, just the 3 of us. She swore this would never happen again. She didn't apologize for calling me selfish. She didn't acknowledge that lying had been wrong beyond a basic mistakes were made statement. She didn't seem to understand why trust wasn't automatically restored. I didn't respond. Days became weeks. My father's surgery came and went. According to Facebook, Jennifer's daughter had indeed helped. Mom posted a thank you to her, calling her an angel in our time of need. Nothing about her actual daughter, who declined to help. I blocked them both on social media, changed my relationship status to "it's complicated" as a private joke to myself. Friends asked if everything was okay with my parents. I gave vague answers about growing apart, needing space, family differences. The truth felt too complex to explain. How do you tell people that you discovered your parents had 3 other children they'd hidden your entire life? That they'd taken those children on a dream vacation while lying to you about money problems? That when confronted, they'd apologized, but then immediately asked for favors? It sounded insane, even in my own head. A month after the surgery, my mother sent flowers to my school. Big, expensive arrangement with a card. Missing my daughter. Love, Mom. I gave them to the school secretary. 2 months later, my father showed up at my apartment. I saw him through the window and didn't answer the door. He knocked for 10 minutes, then left an envelope tucked under the doormat. Inside was a letter, handwritten, several pages long. He explained his perspective on the divorce, on losing custody, on the pain of estrangement from his older children. He talked about how much having me had meant to him, how I'd been wanted and loved. He said the Paris trip had been his idea, his desperate attempt to heal decades-old wounds before it was too late. He still didn't apologize for the lie. The letter ended with, "I hope someday you can forgive us. We're still your parents. We still love you. The door is always open." I put the letter in a drawer and tried to move on with my life, but the wound stayed fresh. Every time I saw families together, I thought about those photos. Every time someone mentioned their parents, I felt the ache of betrayal. Every holiday that passed without contact felt both painful and necessary. 3 months after everything fell apart, Marcus added me as a friend on Facebook. I stared at the request for a long time. My half-brother, one of the people in those Paris photos, one of the reasons I'd been excluded. I accepted it out of curiosity. He messaged immediately. "Hey, I know this is weird. Our parents told us what happened. I wanted to reach out directly." Against my better judgment, I responded. "Why?" "Because what they did was messed up." Diana, Rachel, and I talked about it. We didn't know they'd lied to you. We thought you knew about us and chose not to come. Something loosened in my chest. They told you I couldn't make it? They said you were busy with work. We were actually disappointed we wouldn't get to meet you. I sat back, processing. They'd lied to everyone, told me about budget issues, told them I was too busy, kept us separate while pretending it was for everyone's benefit. Did they tell you anything about me before the trip? Honestly, not much. We knew we had a younger half-sister. That's about it. They kept things pretty separate. We thought it was because you weren't interested in connecting. I didn't know you existed until I saw the Paris photos. Are you serious? Completely. 32 years old, and I'd never heard of any of you. Holy. That's really messed up. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Still, for what it's worth, we'd like to get to know you, if you're interested, without our parents involved. I thought about it. These were my siblings, whether I'd known about them or not. They hadn't asked to be kept secret. They hadn't made the choice to exclude me. Maybe. I need time to process everything still. Totally understand. I'll be here whenever you're ready. The conversation ended, but something had shifted. The anger was still there, but now it had a different target. My parents had hurt multiple people with their choices. They'd kept siblings apart. They'd lied to everyone involved. And they still didn't seem to understand what they'd done wrong. 4 months after the Paris trip, my mother left a voicemail on my birthday. She was crying, saying how much she missed me, how she hoped I'd reconsider cutting them out of my life. I didn't call back. Instead, I messaged Marcus. I think I'm ready to talk more. Coffee sometime? His response was immediate. Absolutely. Diana and Rachel have been asking about you too. We could all meet up if you want. Let's start with just you. Work up to the group setting. Deal. We met the following week at a cafe halfway between our apartments. He looked like his Facebook photos, tall, with my father's features and my mother's coloring. Seeing him in person felt surreal. We talked for 3 hours about his childhood, his memories of visits with our father that stopped when he was 12, about the confusion and hurt of being pushed out of his dad's life, about the shock of reconnecting and discovering he had a sister who had been kept in the dark. They tried to control everything, he said, keep everyone in separate boxes. I think they genuinely believed it was for the best. The best for who? I asked. For them. So they didn't have to deal with the messiness of blended family complications. It made sense in a twisted way. My parents had tried to avoid difficulty by compartmentalizing their lives, but in doing so, they created more pain than if they'd just been honest from the start. Do you think they'll ever understand what they did? I asked. Marcus shrugged. I don't know. Mom keeps trying to justify it. Dad mostly stays quiet. They're hurt that you're not talking to them, but I don't think they really get why. They called me selfish. Of course they did. Taking accountability is hard. We started meeting regularly. Then I met Diana, who was sharp and funny and had my mother's wit. Then Rachel, who was quiet but warm. 3 siblings I'd never known. 3 people who understood what it felt like to be managed and manipulated by parents who thought they knew best. 6 months after Paris, Diana sent a group text. Parents want to plan a family dinner. All of us. They're asking if we think you'd come. I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to refuse on principle, but another part was tired of being angry all the time. Are they planning to actually apologize or just pretend nothing happened? Diana, not sure. Want me to ask? Yes. And tell them pretending is off the table. She reported back an hour later. Dad says he's willing to have a hard conversation. Mom is resistant, but says she'll try. Not good enough. They both need to own what they did. Full accountability, no excuses. Marcus, we can be there as backup if you want. The idea of facing my parents with my siblings present felt right. They couldn't gaslight me if there were witnesses. Couldn't call me childish or selfish with an audience. Okay, I'll come. But ground rules. They apologize properly, they explain why they made every choice, and they accept that trust has to be rebuilt, not demanded. Rachel, we'll make sure they understand before we confirm. The dinner was planned for the following month at my parents' house, which felt like going into enemy territory. But I'd spent 32 years believing that house was my home. Maybe it was time to reclaim it, or let it go for good. The night of the dinner, I arrived with Marcus. Having him there made me feel braver. Diana and Rachel were already inside. My mother opened the door. She looked older than I remembered, thinner, her eyes red. Hi, sweetie, she said quietly. Mom. We stood there awkwardly until Marcus gently guided me inside. The dining room table was set formally. My father stood when we entered. He looked uncomfortable in a way I'd never seen before. We all sat. The tension was suffocating. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Thank you for coming. We know this hasn't been easy. I waited, saying nothing. We wanted to explain ourselves, Mom started. To help you understand. No, I interrupted. We're not doing explanations first. Apologies first. Real ones. They exchanged glances. Diana nodded at them encouragingly. Dad spoke first. We're sorry we lied about the Paris trip. We thought it would be easier than explaining the situation, but we were wrong. It hurt you, and that wasn't our intention. It was better than nothing. Barely. And? I prompted. Mom took a breath. And we're sorry for how we handled this entire situation. For not being honest about your siblings, for trying to manage everyone separately instead of bringing you all together. For calling you selfish when you were understandably hurt. Why did you do it? I asked. The real reason. Not the protective parent excuse. The actual truth. They were quiet for a long moment. Then Dad said, because it was easier. Because dealing with the complexity of blended families and hurt feelings and competing needs was overwhelming. Because we were selfish and wanted to avoid difficult conversations. There it was, the truth. We convinced ourselves it was for everyone's benefit, Mom added. But really, it was for ours. We didn't want to face the consequences of our past choices. We didn't want to admit we'd failed at maintaining relationships with Marcus, Diana, and Rachel. Starting fresh with them felt like a second chance, and including you meant acknowledging all the ways we'd kept everyone apart. I felt tears burning my eyes, but refused to let them fall. Do you understand why that hurt so much? Yes, Mom whispered. You were the daughter we raised, the one who was always there, and we treated you like you mattered less than the children we'd lost. That was wrong. That was incredibly wrong. The room was silent except for the sound of my mother crying. I love you, she said. I love you so much, and I broke your trust. I don't know if I can ever fix that, but I want to try, however long it takes. I looked around the table at my father, who looked genuinely remorseful, at Marcus, Diana, and Rachel, who were all watching with supportive expressions, at my mother, who was falling apart. It's going to take time, I said finally. A lot of time, and complete honesty from now on. No more managing me. No more lies, even small ones. No more treating me like I'm too fragile for the truth. We can do that, Dad said. We will do that. And therapy, family therapy, for all of us. Mom nodded. Whatever you need. I'm not ready to forgive yet, I said quietly, but I'm willing to try to rebuild. That's more than we deserve, she said. Maybe it was. Maybe I was being too generous. But I was tired of being angry. Tired of the wound that wouldn't heal. Tired of holidays alone and birthday voicemails that went unreturned. The dinner was awkward, but not terrible. We talked about surface things mostly. Marcus told stories that made everyone laugh. Diana asked about my job. Rachel showed pictures of her cat. My parents were careful around me, deferential in a way they'd never been before. It felt strange, but necessary. When I left, my mother hugged me at the door. I let her, even though it felt uncomfortable. Thank you for coming, she whispered. Thank you for giving us a chance. I drove home with Marcus, both of us quiet. That was intense, he finally said. Yeah, you okay? I don't know. Maybe. For what it's worth, I think you handled that perfectly. You didn't let them off easy, but you didn't shut the door completely either. I wanted to, I admitted. Part of me still does, but another part wants a family back. A different version of my family, one where everyone's honest. That's fair. That's healthy, actually. We drove in silence for a while longer. Then Marcus said, I'm glad we met. All of this aside, I'm glad I have a sister. Something warm spread through my chest. Me too. The healing process was slow. Therapy sessions that were painful and necessary. Dinners where old wounds were carefully examined. Conversations where my parents had to sit with their shame instead of deflecting. My mother struggled the most. She wanted forgiveness immediately, wanted things to go back to normal, but normal was gone. We were building something new, and she had to accept that. My father was quieter, but more consistent. He showed up to every therapy session. He listened more than he spoke. He accepted my boundaries without complaint. A year after Paris, we took a trip together, all 6 of us, to Boston. Somewhere none of us had been. Neutral territory for a family trying to figure out what they were to each other. We walked the Freedom Trail, ate seafood in the North End, took photos where everyone was included. On the last night, sitting in a restaurant overlooking the harbor, my mother raised her glass. To second chances, she said, and to the daughter who was brave enough to demand better from us. It wasn't perfect. The hurt hadn't disappeared, but we were trying, honestly, messily, imperfectly trying. Marcus caught my eye across the table and smiled. Diana squeezed my hand. Rachel laughed at something Dad said, and for the first time in a year, I felt like maybe I belonged to something real. Not the carefully constructed fiction my parents had maintained for decades, not the compartmentalized relationships they tried to control, but something genuine, built on truth, accountability, and the hard work of people who'd chosen to show up. My mother still had moments where she tried to justify her choices. My father still struggled with expressing emotion, but they were trying, and I was learning that sometimes trying is enough. The revenge I'd wanted initially, the satisfaction of watching them suffer the consequences of their actions, had transformed into something more valuable. I'd gotten my voice back. I'd established boundaries. I'd found siblings I never knew I needed. And my parents had learned that love without honesty isn't really love at all. When people asked about my family now, I had a different answer than before. I had siblings. We were figuring things out. My parents and I had gone through a rough patch, but were rebuilding. The truth, messy as it was, felt better than the careful lies I'd been told my entire life. 2 years after that initial phone call about budget issues, my mother called again. This time, her voice was different, hopeful but cautious. "I wanted to run something by you," she said. "Your father and I are planning another trip, a big family one. We'd like everyone to come, and we'd like you to help plan it if you're interested." I thought about the girl who'd sat in a teacher's lounge staring at Paris photos, feeling worthless and excluded, about the woman I'd become, who knew her worth and demanded respect. "Where were you thinking?" "We thought maybe you could choose somewhere you've always wanted to go." "Italy," I said immediately. "I've always wanted to see Italy." "Then Italy it is. Will you help me plan it?" "On one condition." "Name it." "No lies about anything. Even if you think it's protecting someone, even if it's uncomfortable. Complete honesty." "I promise," she said. And for the first time in years, I believed her. 6 months later, we stood in front of the Colosseum, all 6 of us, taking a family photo. This time, I was in the center, my mother's arm around my shoulders, my father on my other side, my siblings surrounding us. Marcus took the photo with a timer. We counted down together and smiled. Later, when my mother posted it to Facebook with the caption, "Family, finally complete," I didn't feel the sting I might have expected. Instead, I felt something close to peace. Jennifer commented, "Beautiful family." I liked her comment because it was true. We were beautiful in our broken, rebuilt, complicated way. That night, over wine at a restaurant in Trastevere, Diana asked me, "Do you think you've forgiven them?" I considered the question carefully. I think I've accepted what happened and chosen to move forward. Is that the same as forgiveness? I don't know, but it's enough for now. "That's fair," Rachel said. "Forgiveness is overrated anyway. Accountability is better." My mother overheard and flinched slightly, but she didn't argue. She'd learned not to. "To accountability," Marcus raised his glass. We all clinked our glasses together. And in that moment, surrounded by people who had been strangers 2 years ago and were now undeniably family, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The kind of hope that comes not from pretending everything is fine, but from doing the hard work of making things better, from speaking truth even when it's uncomfortable, from demanding respect and offering grace in equal measure. My phone buzzed. A text from a friend back home. "How's the trip?" I looked around the table, at my imperfect parents who were genuinely trying, at my siblings who'd become my strongest allies, at this strange, beautiful family we were all choosing to build together. I typed back, "Complicated, but good, really good."